Alright, greetings, Wargamers. Welcome back to Eurofront. It's been quite some time now. I hope you're having a good year. Hope you're working on yourselves. Hope you're learning, building up yourself, establishing good relationships, and getting deeper and deeper into your studies. And so I'm back with another video. We're going to continue our Eurofront campaign. And we're going to continue playing. And, I figure I have the time. Let's dive in. We're going to continue with this predominantly Eastern Front strategy focus. And so it is right now the month. I'll pull up the chart. Right now it is April of 1942. And it's kind of a strategic stalemate on the Eastern Front. I mean, the German army did really well. We definitely stacked up. Massive campaign, defeated the Soviets across multiple directions, a vast swath of open terrain. The question is, what is the strategy now for 1942? And I think I've looked at the game, I studied it a little bit, and studied the certain situation, and I think I have a decent strategy. Basically, we're going to put as much pressure as we can on the Soviet Union, and we're going to try to conquer the Soviet Union. We're not going to simply we're going to go full like Adolf Hitler here, basically, without any of the politics, obviously, just a pure military strategy, YouTube. So with that, we're going to focus on pushing. Historically, the German army pushed on the south, case blue. We have the Great Battle of Stalingrad, but I'm looking at the situation now, and it's like, yeah, we could try to push on Stalingrad, we could try to push on, the Baku, the Caucasus oil fields, and all of this. But I'm thinking, I don't think the German army has the resources to right now. We would basically need the equivalent of like 2 more army groups. I don't think Army Group South can do it all by itself. Army Group South would need to be split into at least 2 army groups. One to go for Stalingrad, another to go for Case Blue. And I'm presuming that we would need a third one, potentially, to go for, say, Astrakhan or Makachkala. The idea being that we just put as much pressure as we can on the Soviets. And actually, realistically, maybe that third army group would actually be used to defend this flank that Army Group South needs to protect in order to actually invade, right? We're kind of doing this sort of push onto this peninsula from Ukraine. We're leaving Ukraine and we're actually pushing into the open steppe. And so I don't know if that's the best strategy, frankly. I think just the geographic terrain suggests that our logistics are going to be very, very complicated because we kind of have this bottleneck around Rostov. We haven't taken Crimea either. Crimea is very well defended right now. There's 3 Soviet armies right now in Crimea, and we only have 1 corps, which I think was supposed to attack, but I didn't actually do it on the previous turn, so we're going to have to do that again. But right now, I mean, Army Group South is strong. 2 HQs, several Panzer Corps, but we did see a Soviet counteroffensive, and the Soviets did actually disrupt our supplies, inflict some significant casualties. I think the Axis lost something along the order of like 200,000 troops. So due to frostbite, and then we have Army Group Center, which is the strongest of all the army groups, but I don't think we have enough infantry to go on in the offensive. The Soviets have their largest buildup of units around Moscow. You can see there's some areas that are very well stacked, and so it's a pretty, I would say, evenly matched sort of situation here. If we do decide to attack Moscow, we would need more army groups. Right now, I only have Army Group Center. I think I had Army Group. I got 2 army groups here, so we do have some offensive potential. The fact that we took Leningrad in the north basically means that Army Group North is basically decommissioned. I mean, we have an army here present. 3-4 corps, actually several corps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corps, presumably about 60,000 troops per corps. So you're looking at about what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corps with about 60,000 troops, maybe 50,000 troops on average. You're looking at about 250,000 troops already here in the north, and they kind of have to stay there because the Soviets still have units that are present in the region. So the odds of them being able to take Leningrad is actually quite low. But the problem is that if we lose, say, Novgorod, if we lose the No, this whole flank begins to open up. And now the logistics are obviously really far, But it's like I don't think we should abandon these positions, and logistically, it's actually costly to pull our army back as well. So just might as well have them sit there and do nothing. That's basically what happened historically. The only difference is that now we're getting resources from Leningrad, which is a big win, and I don't think we're going to get as much pressure from the Soviets as we did historically. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Depends on my playstyle. Like I say, if you want to play a game with me, simply let me know and we can set up a game. And we will probably play live. I think for the sake of the channel, because of time, we'll make a live video. We can do tutorials, things like this, and we basically can play. You don't have to show yourself on camera. I know that a lot of people are like somewhat shy when it comes to being online, but I would say for the gaming community in general, it's not a problem. We voice chat, play through Google, set up a Google Meet, meeting basically, and then we'll play the game, and other people can listen in, and I think it'll be good fun. And then maybe in the future we can actually do some kind of live stream. I think that would be the most fun way to go. So with that said, it's the Axis initiative on all the fronts. The Allies have not opened up the second front yet, but we've suffered heavy casualties here in North Africa. I think we tried to withdraw, and our units got chased down. It was just bad dice rolls. So all we have left right now is the Desert Africa Corps with only 2 divisions, and it's like we got to pull out, we got to pull back as much as possible. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate this Africa Corps here, and then I'm going to get this Desert Africa Corps to retreat. It can only move 2, meaning that the British are in range to chase us down, which is kind of an inconvenience. We're going to deactivate the Africa Corps, and we're going to bring it back to El Agalia, and just leave it there. Keep it in range of this Africa Corps. This Africa Corps is super weak right now. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to activate this theater HQ, and I'm going to move this Libyan Corps, and we're going to have it fall back to Benghazi. And the idea being that even though we have favorable defensive terrain there, if we simply leave it there, the British are going to be able to flank and like reach Bars, and then our units are going to be cut off. So the idea is that we methodically retreat. Maybe what I'm thinking about doing is maybe this Africa Corps should also fall back to Benghazi, and in this way we can basically have like some kind of final defense in Benghazi, but I don't think it's going to work for supply reasons, so we're not going to do that. So that's it for the North Africa campaign. We're going to have to do pursuit fire to see how that goes. Now, the Western Front does have clear terrain. This has dry terrain, clear, dry. In another game, Europe in Gulf, it was clear terrain. But we do have a full-strength HQ, and I think it's time that we launch some kind of counteroffensive against the British here that have successfully landed in Normandy, in Caen, but they just established a defense, right? They didn't really try to break out. It's been a siege. We suffered heavy casualties in the attack, but at least we're able to pin down the British. What I'm going to do is pull back this weak corps, pull it back. Actually, what I think I might do is actually move it to Saint Malo, and then I'm going to move this corps in. Actually, no, I won't. I'm actually going to move it to Orleans, and then we're going to move this corps into Caen, and then we've got a full-strength Panzer Corps that we're going to move in as well. So we basically have twice the numerical advantage. We've got a reserve as well, which is really nice. But of course, we don't really have much in terms of like firepower. We only got 4 Panzer divisions, which is good. I mean, 4 Panzer divisions is better than no Panzer divisions, but the enemy has double defense. So the British are really dug in. Presumably, they just have this massive line of like anti-tank guns dug in. We do have air support. Let's look at our air support. I think it's single fire, but it might be double fire. If it's double fire, we might have a little bit of a firepower boost there. But let's see, looking at this table. Axis Western Front, double fire in 1942, and we're still technically winter 1941 since it's April. So we actually have 6 double fire rolls, presuming that we only sustained 2 hits. So it's pretty even in firepower, but we're going to be able to absorb a lot more hits than they can. So the British, they will be able to fight, with a lot of firepower, but they won't be able to take that many hits. So we're going to put an airstrike marker here, and we'll see how this battle goes. Actually, before I do that, we're going to go ahead and activate the Eastern Front. It is mud. And I got to figure out what the strategy is here for the Eastern Front. I think I know what my strategy is going to be. And there's nothing I can really do because of the weather, right? The weather is super limiting right now. I'm thinking of also maybe activating OKW and trying to transfer some German reserves to the Eastern Front, because historically, there's a big old truck passing by. Historically, on the Eastern Front, they received these reinforcements. I mean, they received these additional corps, which were basically sent to reinforce against the Soviet winter counteroffensive. But we didn't really see much of a Soviet winter counteroffensive around, Moscow. We saw it more in the south. And there was only one Soviet offensive. Technically, historically, there was three. There was one against Leningrad, one here in Moscow, and then another one here against Army Group South. But in our playthrough, we only saw effectively one Soviet counteroffensive. So it goes to show you just how much damage we put on the Soviet Union due to Operation Barbarossa. We were able to basically weaken them so much that they didn't really have the material to launch a counteroffensive, a strategic winter counteroffensive as we saw historically. But we do have an incentive to transfer as much manpower as we can to the Eastern Front, because right now we kind of need it. We have a lot of strong core for sure, but I can't just help but notice, I can't help but feel like our reserves are really, really weak. We don't have much of, we can't really do both a strategic defense and a strategic offense at the same time. We can only really do one or the other. And so if we do go on the offensive, we kind of have to go all out on the offensive and preserve our momentum. Otherwise, our forces are going to be strategically vulnerable to Soviet counteroffensives. They're just basically these infantry divisions that are sitting in open terrain. Now, they do have anti-tank guns. They do have artillery. But because of the nature of the Eastern Front, things are just spread so thin. I'm not sure what the density is, but it may be like so many anti-tank guns for every 10 kilometers. I know that David Glantz talks about this quite a bit, these kind of like density per kilometer, but he doesn't really do it in a very like systematic way. So the data is like super messy. But the point is, the Eastern Front is like vast, and right now we just have this clear terrain, right? If it was forest terrain, it's another story. The infantry can do a much better job defending, but in open terrain, it's much harder. So this is what we're going to see in the Battle of Khan. I mean, presumably the Battle of Khan, according to this game, is clear terrain. But if you know anything about the historical battle, you know that it was a very dense battle, and I think that's because a lot of units were just stacked up. The British stacked up as many divisions as they could in Normandy. So did the Americans. The Germans also did the same, I believe. Right now, the Germans have stacked up all their units, but the British have not. So there's room for flanking, there's room for maneuver is the point here. So it's kind of like a density thing. How many divisions per region? Each hex, by the way, is about 60 kilometers in quote-unquote diameter if it was a circle. So, you're looking, I'm not exactly sure what the density is, but if it's 60 kilometers across, and you've got what? Let's see for the Germans. You've got here about 15 divisions. So that would tell you that there's about, for every 4 kilometers, you have one division. The density is pretty good. But on the Eastern Front, take for example this situation here north of Kharkov, you've got 3 divisions on the German side, and then you would have, I believe, 3 rifle corps on the Soviet side, presuming that the rifle corps is still even structured, because I think the Soviets disbanded Rifle Corps in 1941 and only focused on rifle divisions. Either way, it's about 2 to 3 divisions per step, so you're looking at about anywhere between 6 to 9 Soviet rifle divisions across 60 kilometers. I'm going to just round it up to 9. And so basically for 60 kilometers, or maybe we'll leave it at 6, um, for 60 kilometers, that would tell you that for every 10 kilometers, you've got one Soviet rifle division. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. That seems like really low. Seems super low. Because the Soviet rifle division, I mean, the Soviet rifle divisions were smaller than the standard divisions, or at full strength, are about 10,000 troops. So you're looking at about, I mean, that's assuming that they're at full strength. If they're under strength, they're like at 5,000. So you're looking at about 5 to 10,000 troops for every 10 kilometers. Meaning, for a full strength division, you have 1,000 troops for every kilometer. And apparently, that density is relatively low. Or maybe you only have 500 troops for every kilometer. And keep in mind that you have multiple defensive lines. So it's not just one defensive line. That would be more of a World War One scenario. And the early stages of the war, at least, you want to have 2 to 3 infantry defensive lines. So for the entire front line, if it's 1 kilometer in length, say 600 troops, you're talking about 200 troops for every kilometer, right? And then so you now divide a kilometer by 200, and now what is that? That's 5. So for every 5 meters, assuming that all your troops are at full strength, all your troops are combat troops, which is not the case, you have for every 5 meters 1 soldier, which is pretty low. It's pretty low. That's about 25. That's about 15 feet. So your troops are spread out for sure. So that's kind of what we're getting here in a scenario over here in this situation. It's spread thin is the point I'm making. So I think we're going to pass on the Germans. I mean, I could try to transfer some reinforcements around, but it's like I don't know. I don't really have any reserves right now that I can really move around at the moment. I can pull back in infantry units. Under strength infantry can kind of move around. This 4th Romanian Army rather, is still Odessa, in Odessa, excuse me. I think it's Odessa, but it might be pronounced Odessa. Point is, this 35th Corps will be able to move up into Perekop. So yeah, I don't really have many units to transfer around at the present moment on the Eastern Front. So the only thing I have is like 2 corps. I can pull back a 44th Corps to Dinant. I could remove the 35th Corps into Perekop. And then maybe I could try to deal with this sort of like bogged down situation. Maybe like swap around some units. That's not a bad idea. Just kind of shift some units around, pull back these mech units, and then maybe replace them with Panzer Corps. Or maybe try to launch an attack across the river. But the idea is to like make progress somewhere. We only have 1 corps here in reserve. We've got this 3rd Romanian Army also in reserve over here as well. We've got 2 Panzer Corps here in the center, which are really in a really great position for some kind of offensive. So I think it's not a bad situation. I think we're just gonna, I think I just might do some rotations. OKH will pull back the 44th Corps to Dinant, have it basically get some R&R. We'll pull back, I think this 30th Corps, probably put it here, bring it to Bryansk, so that's 2. Then I'll pull back this Mech Corps. So that's 3. Let's see, what else can I do? We'll attack here. That's 4. 2 more moves, 5, and then I think we'll move this third Romanian to Melitopol. And just, I don't think I want to attack Crimea, but yeah, I don't think I want to attack Crimea. So no, actually I'll cancel that. Cancel these 2 moves. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 2 more strategic moves to do. Let's see. I think I want to pull back this infantry and then move up this infantry, the 52nd, forward. That's 5-6. All right, nice. Deactivate OKW, and then we're going to move it strategically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I'm going to put it in Konotop, which I believe is more or less where what should we call it? Chernobyl is. I know it's somewhere in northern Ukraine, east Ukraine, somewhere north. So I think somewhere around there. It'd be interesting to verify that information for sure, but we'll leave it around there basically. Right now it has no historical significance, other than being like some kind of link between Bieli, Russia, and Ukraine. So yeah, let's do some battles. We'll attack here. No hits on the Soviets. two German hits, but you know it's triple defense. Excuse me, triple defense. So no hits on either side. Presumably the Soviets would have suffered a few thousand casualties. Let's see what else. I probably should have swapped these 2 units out. Leave a Romanian unit just there. We don't really need the Romanians for any offensive operations. I might do that future turn. But I decided to move up the 52nd Corps instead, and I pulled back, which was kind of a gamble. But presumably we have good defense right now because of the mud. Any other battles I want to do? Let's attack here in Izium. See if we can defeat the Soviet cavalry division. No hits. No hits on either side. Okay. We'll hide these units again. But just try to like stabilize the front line a little bit. Now we can do the North African situation. We decided to withdraw. The British can pursue. Rolling on 6s. They got no hits, thankfully. So the Africa Corps got out in one piece. Very nice. And now we've got the battle here in Khan. Now our HQ is only a level 2, so I'm not gonna blitz. I could blitz, but I'm gonna wait until we are able to get some damage. We did get 1 hit with air power, very nice. I think I'll afflict it on the Canadian, on these Canadian divisions. Now the Allies will roll, Canadians and British, they roll 3 hits, just like that. Very nice. And they even destroyed or crippled one of the German panzer divisions. Now the German panzer divisions will retaliate. They score a hit. German infantry will retaliate. No hits. So about a 2 to 3 ratio in casualties. The British are definitely tactically winning, but I think at this rate, inevitably, the Germans are going to win, right? I mean, it's only a matter of time before the British, the British are now at 75% combat effectiveness. The Germans are also at about 75% combat effectiveness, but I think the numerical disparity begins to exaggerate here more and more. I guess the British had 8 divisions, about 15,000 troops per division. So you're looking at about, I think that is 120,000 troops at the present moment. The Germans, on the other hand, presumably they're still at 22,000 troops per division. I'm assuming that the German divisions are a bit larger. And so, but let's just leave it at 15,000, just to keep it like consistent. The Germans had 15 divisions, so that'd be 15 by 15. That's 225,000. So almost a 2-to-1 numerical advantage. Now they're at 12 divisions. So 12 times 15 is Oh my gosh, what is that? I think it's 180,000 at the moment, while the British are at 6 divisions, so they're at 90,000. So yeah, it's still 2 to 1. It's still 2 to 1 ratio. So relatively consistent, if you can imagine. Basically, the British forces are like, losing ground, but they still have a functional defensive line at the moment. So we're gonna have to see what the British strategy is gonna be. But I think on this note, we will conclude the turn for the Axis. We'll now switch over to first the Soviets. I didn't even start the log file. I could have. I mean, this is the video, but I think I should. I probably should, yeah. But like now, let's go over to the Soviets. I want to see what the Soviets can do at the present moment. But I think it's really, this turn is really focused on the British because of the weather. The Soviets are pretty like under strength. I mean, let's keep it real. I mean, Soviet offensive stalled out, but the Soviet infantry are like doing actually quite well. The Soviet formations are actually looking pretty good. I just don't think the Soviets have enough formations right now. But like we've pretty much built up the full stack of what we saw historically. So I mean, from historical gameplay, from a historical perspective, the Soviets are doing pretty well. But they probably could use more HQs. We have Moscow and Stavka at full strength. That's excellent. This Baltic HQ, though, is at level 1. The Leningrad HQ is at level 0. Ukrainian HQ is at level 1. And the Southern HQ is at level 0. So I think at least have all the Soviet HQs at level 1, meaning we could build up 2 more HQs. I think the game plan here is to figure out, like, what's the strategy for the Soviets, right? Because I don't think we have enough formations really at the moment to beat back the Germans, and I feel like we barely have enough to hold them back against some kind of counteroffensive when the weather changes. Right now it's mud, so we don't have to really worry about that. But come summer, we could be experiencing another German offensive, very possible. And so I think the overall strategy right now for April is to focus on preparing for a German counteroffensive of some kind. And so I kind of want to like shift units around, maybe build up some kind of operational reserve of some kind, maybe build a defense in depth, or maybe like double up these defensive positions, maybe pull these units back. It's hard for me to say what the best strategy is here. I'm thinking maybe we should pull these units back and just start double stacking these areas, and that may be the best chances of us being prepared for some kind of some kind of German offensive, and just do it that way. I just don't see any other way to do it, and I think no matter what happens, we are like in for a rough 1942 summer period. We need to just figure out where to fall back to is the main question. So I think I'm going to go ahead. Now, obviously, spending Stavka is costly logistically. So, it's kind of a trade-off, right? I mean, for every Stavka that we use, that's the equivalent of building up an entire new Soviet army. So it's like, do we focus on building up more, or do we focus on logistics and just like positioning our forces? And I think really for the sake of playing dirty, which is what the Soviets did very well historically, I think we're not gonna move any units. Like whatever ground we've taken, we're not gonna abandon that territory just to organize better defensive lines. I mean, that's more of a 1943 Soviet army. I think for 1942, 1941, they're still learning. So I think we're gonna leave it as it is. These units are in a vulnerable position. Maybe pull out of Kharkov would be not a bad idea. Maybe pull back this cavalry unit and pull it back before it gets destroyed. Yeah, we are gonna activate Stavka. We're gonna be smart here. I'm gonna pull back this 5th Corps, put it here. I think we're gonna pull back from Kharkov, put it there. I think this unit though, it's gonna stay as it is. Or maybe we do pull it back to Kursk. Maybe try to fortify Kursk. Not a bad idea. You know what? So that was 2 strategic moves. I don't really have much in terms of reserves. You would think we would have like a really nice Soviet reserve, but we really don't. I mean, all the shock armies are being used. We've got one here in Mozhaisk. We got one here in Kursk. This one here is not really being used, and I believe I should have a fourth shock army somewhere. Where is it? It's a good question. There should be 4 shock armies. Oh, and these reserves in Stalingrad can definitely move up. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, 4. Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure where to. Maybe we just like stack up 4 units at Kursk, since it's a major junction. That's what I'm thinking. Try to reinforce Kursk, I think might be the game plan. Just fortify, fortify, fortify. I think is the main strategy. So I'm going to move this shock army by rail to Kursk, and I think that's it. And then we got to figure out what our strategy is here to defending. Obviously, the road to Stalingrad is also another vulnerability. I mean, if we lose Stalingrad, it's not a big deal, but like obviously we don't want our units to be decimated. So I think what I'll do is I'll move up this mech corps, stick it right there. So against any German attack, it's we have a stronger defense. I probably should try to pull this unit out to Rostov, from Rostov, so that if the Germans do attack, they can't like break out of Rostov. We have some kind of river defense. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we're gonna pull out of Rostov. 5. And then but that leaves actually not a bad idea. Yeah, I'm thinking. Oh man, we gotta figure out what to do. Because of mud, I think we may have a little bit more time to build up more reserves in Stalingrad. We still have one more. There's full weather of mud, so I think I'm going to move this 34th Corps right there, and then move this 19th Army to replace it. And that way, we're able to establish a perimeter all around Rostov and Voroshilovgrad. But obviously, Stalingrad is vulnerable. But we're going to build up more reserves there in the next turn. We don't know where the Germans are going to attack, but I think the overall strategy here is to make sure that we have units that can hold the line. So these shock armies are very immobile. They can only move 1 unit per hex, 1 area per hex, but the idea is they can hold the line. That's the game plan, at least. But I think I want to pull back the 6th Army to Kursk as well. But I think we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. So it's an interesting setup. And then we've got a lot of cavalry here along the Donets River. So these units are able to move, they'll have a very easy time pulling back if the Germans decide to launch a counteroffensive here in basically northeast of Stalino. We will be able to easily pull back, and then we've got mech units defending Kamensko to mech corps, so that's presumably like, I think it's about 1,000 tanks per mech corps. But they're mostly like light tanks, so they'd be like, I think by this stage they'd probably be like BT5s, maybe some T60s, but I think they're mostly BT5s, and maybe like 100, 200 T34s per mech corps. And obviously like, maybe 40, 50 KV1s or something like this. So yeah, and then, Crimea seems well defended, but we definitely want to like build up, I think they build up this amphibious unit again, and then I think on the next turn, the main strategy should probably be to build up these mech corps as much as possible. Build up this infantry, build up a reserve, some kind of strategic reserve, and we're also receiving reinforcements in the form of these tank armies, but it's very important that we build them up. If we don't build them up, they're not going to be useful. All right, so that's it for the Soviets. Pretty interesting turn. Just strategic moves. We'll now switch over to the British. This game is fascinating. It's still a very fascinating game. But, it's like there's a lot of depth in the game, more than people realize. And it's like, there's definitely an incentive to quantify this game. I've said it before, but like, it's going to take more time. But this is one of my personal projects, is to try to see if we can quantify a game like this and then go from there. But anyways, the British are doing super well. They've broken through. I think we're going to just do a good old historical pursuit. We're going to go ahead and activate this 21st HQ, and we're going to chase down as many as we're going to chase down the Axis as much as possible. These units can move. All the British units are motorized, so they can chase down pretty well. I think what I'm going to do is I'm only going to send the mech units forward, and I'm going to save this armored unit basically as some kind of. Oh, you know what? We got to be careful that the Axis don't launch an amphibious invasion of Tobruk. So what I'm going to do is this Western Desert Force will actually move to Tobruk. And then, we are gonna pursue just with all the units all ahead forward. This unit can only move up 1, so it's gonna go to Michili, and the idea is it's gonna be more expensive to build, but on the next turn we'll have combat support. Now, I don't actually think Barce is gonna be British controlled on this turn. Ooh. So actually, we're gonna have him move to Massus, right there, and we're gonna send the armored unit, but we need Barca to be under British control, because that is our supply path. Actually, come to think of it, these units are gonna be out of supplies. These British units. Hold on, I'm gonna do this turn again. Our British units are actually gonna be out of supplies because our supply path needs to come from this road here, from Barca de Derna all the way to Tobruk. So that's actually that's a serious problem. So what I'll do is, I think I'm just gonna chase down with infantry, or maybe I won't chase the. I think I won't chase the Axis as much as I expected. So I'm gonna give the Africa Corps a little bit of time to breathe. Now we could chase them down. It's an interesting question. Do we chase them down or not? It's a very interesting question. But like, until we take Benghazi, if we chase them down, we're gonna be putting our forces out of supplies, and it's like our supply lines are pretty overextended as it is. And so I think I want to actually focus all my firepower on Benghazi. Try to take Benghazi as much as possible. And I think what we'll do is something like this. Oh man, this is just a super inconvenient. No, we'll do something like this. We'll move up this 13th Corps across the desert. Leave this Anzac group in Massus. We probably should try to pin down the Axis. The Axis could launch their own counterattack. So it's a very interesting situation. It's a very interesting situation for sure. I think this is we're going to put pressure on Benghazi, and I think we're going to leave it like that. So it's not the best attack plan that we have so far, but it should be at least. I think it's the most. I don't know if it's the most logical and most rational, but it seems to be a decent approach. Now, as far as the situation here in over here in Khan, I think it's time that we pull out. I mean, I could just try to hold out for another round of combat, but the problem I see is that one of our units are going to have to experience pursuit fire, at least against the Panzer divisions. I think we can hold out for one more turn, but it might be pushing it. So I think we're going to play be very conservative with the British here, and just try to play it smart. I think we're going to pull them out. We did a good job. I think we've inflicted as much damage as we could. Let's make sure this operation still stays successful. So we're going to make this operation an invasion. It's a reverse invasion, and we're going to pull these units out. We're going to start with the Canadians. and bring it to Dover. That's the first turn. We'll go ahead and do this battle over here. Battle of Libya. No hits from the Italians. Yep, we score 1 hit against the Italians. We scored 3 hits. We almost scored 4. If we scored 4, we would have taken Benghazi without a problem. Scored 1 hit there. Nice. And then for the blitz phase, we're going to go ahead and pull this unit out. We are basically abandoning our British HQ, British beachhead. So unfortunately, we're abandoning a lot of valuable equipment. The Panzer Corps will get the pursue. They score 1 hit. Okay. So yeah, I'm glad that we pulled back. And then this beachhead marker is going to be under not even prep status. We're gonna have to build it all up again. So yeah, it was a costly British operation. We did abandon the beachhead, unfortunately, but I think we succeeded in that we were able to at least pin down the Axis in the Western Front, and hopefully buy the Soviets a little bit of time. At least give the Soviets some kind of morale win or something. We'll now switch over to the Axis, and so I'm going to take some deep breaths here. And we can now switch gears. Now for the Axis on the Eastern Front, it's still going to be mud. Not much going on the Eastern Front. So that is that. As far as the North African Front, I think we should make a run for it if we can. Except we don't have any HQs. Okay, so I know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and activate OKW, and I can do 3 supreme moves at half efficiency in the Mediterranean front. And I think what I'm going to do is try to... I don't know where to fall back to exactly, but obviously this Africa Corps probably should fall all the way back to Libya so that it can be built up. Because it's cost 20 production points right now, which is pretty pricey. So, yeah, I gotta figure out what the game plan here is, but presumably we should move this unit down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe bring back this unit, boom, like so. And then, I don't really have any other moves to do. So that was 4 supreme moves, technically. I have 2 more left. Maybe I can move some units over here on the Western Front and kind of dilute this concentration that we have here. I think that game plan is to start pulling back some of our infantry. And then we'll start transferring them over to the Eastern Front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Almost to Berlin. 1, 2. Maybe I can't get to Berlin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't think I can. But yeah, start transferring them over to the Eastern Front. It's better than nothing. But yeah, the Africa Corps is pretty battered right now. But we're going to hold on to El Algelia, and the idea is that we can strategically, I have this lisp, we can strategically withdraw. The British are still going to take some time for the British to push forward. But like, presumably, I think Libya is lost. At least East Libya is lost. And we're probably going to have to fall back to, this is not the best defensive position to be in. Since we're out of range of Benghazi. But I think we'll try to establish some kind of defensive line near Tripoli is what I think the long-term plan is. But for now, try to send in some reinforcements so that we can have a methodical withdrawal. That's kind of the game plan, I think. So that's it for the Axis. I think the Soviets are going to pass. We'll switch over to the British. and do British production, I think. The British will attack. Let's do one round of combat here. Italians will roll, no hits. Yeah, and the British have taken Benghazi. Nice. Very, 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 very successful win there for the British. Very good. All right, so we'll start with British production. I think British production, let's see what it is on the Western Front. It looks like it's at 17 production, while the Mediterranean Front is at 25. Is that right? 17, 25? I would think it would be more. No, that's right. 17 and 25, yeah. 17 plus 25. I think it would have been at 32, and I think right now it's at 42 total. Because the British received 10 in Winter 41. Yeah, so it's total 42. So with 17 production points, let's see if we have any supplies that we saved on previous turns. We did not. So we're going to go ahead and have 17 production builds for the British. Build up this HQ, that's 10. And then with 7 left, actually I think what I'm going to do is pass on the British turn and save it till for May. That way we can just be more economical. I didn't bother to activate this HQ. Interestingly enough, I didn't bother to do that. But no, we'll focus on building up the beachhead. And then for the Mediterranean front, it's going to be 5 dice rolls. That's 9, 10, 11 plus 4 is 15. We can't even build up this HQ. So I think with 15, what I'll do is the infantry are at full strength. I think we're also going to save on this turn. No, what I'll do is I'll build up this mech unit here, and then I'll go ahead and build up this HQ. That's actually 14. Not bad. Okay. So that's it for the British. We'll switch over to the Soviets, do their production next. So let's see what the Soviets got here. I think the Soviet production is like 55, 53, what I have calculated here. We'll obviously build up Stavka, so that brings us down to 43. We're going to build up these Soviet tank armies. So that's 8 apiece. So from 43 down to 35, I believe. 43 down to 35. It's pretty good. Build up the shock army. Now we're down to 32. Build up these cavalry. That's going to put us down to 24. Let's build up this HQ. That's going to put us down to 14. Build up this shock army down to 11. But all the Soviet units are like at full strength, which is really nice to see. Any other 3 builds that we can do? I don't see any. So with 11 left, I think we're going to have to, unfortunately, toss out one of the production points. And we're just going to build up 5 infantry. 1, 2. So that leaves us with 6. Oh, we could have tried to build up this airborne unit, but it's actually quite expensive. So with 6 left, oh, there we go, 4 left. I think what I'm going to do next, with only 4, I can only build up 1 infantry, fortunately. We'll put it in Stalingrad. So I think we're trying to do quality over quantity for the Soviets, which may not be the wisest approach. But I figure, like, let's make sure all our frontline units are at full strength. And then once they're at full strength, I can start building up a strategic reserve. That's the game plan. But presumably, like, these units represent armies, so it's a concentration. We're building up multiple defensive lines. That's kind of the idea. We also have reinforcements for the Soviets. Oh, not yet. Oh no, we got this one. Shock army, or tank army. I'll go ahead and put this tank army. I'm not sure where to put it. We got 2 south of Moscow. Maybe I'll put 1 north of Moscow, Kalinin. I'm not sure, like, where to put these shock armies. But I think right now the idea is prioritize Moscow as much as possible. And wherever the Germans attack, I mean, we'll see what they do. We're not going to put them in the south. I think right now putting them in Moscow is the most reasonable place. Now on to the Axis production. Probably the most exciting production, in my opinion. For Libya, it's going to be the same. I think it's 25 production points. So we'll roll 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. That's plus 4 is 15. 16 production points altogether. Pretty good. I think all we can do is really. I think we'll build up this. I don't know. Maybe build up this Desert Africa Corps still. Because I think we're going to have to retreat. I think we have no choice but to retreat at the moment. I think it was maybe a bad idea to transfer this unit moving forward, because if the British attack us, unfortunately, it's going to be kind of messy to retreat. And then I was thinking about maybe building up a militia units. I'll go ahead and build this one up because I think we're going to have to move it up to the front line, but it's very slow. It's not going to be able to get there in time. But we do have the initiative on this turn, so I think we do have the initiative on this turn. So hold on. I think I'm actually going to build up this unit. That cost 9. That's going to leave us with 7 production points. No, I think what we had was good. That was 12, and then I guess I'll go ahead and build up just this militia unit from scratch. Oh yeah, it would be nice to. Oh, maybe build up the Italian infantry. Maybe build up this Italian infantry army rather than the Africa Corps. Might be the better move. So I think we are going to retreat from El Agalia and fall back. I'm not even going to bother trying to hold the line because the British can just send reinforcements in. Now at the moment, based off of their strategic position, they can only send 1 unit forward. They're not going to be able to stack up a whole lot of units. So maybe we should try to hold the line. Again, it's really hard to say what the best strategy here is. Do we rebuild up this Italian infantry army that got battered at Tobruk? It's going to be handy, but it's kind of expensive and it's kind of clunky. I think maybe just focus on the German units instead. Might be the better approach. So we'll build up the Africa Corps, and then go ahead and build up an Italian militia group. And they can, maybe establish a defensive line there. But I think it's time to consider, potentially getting the Africa Corps to retreat. I mean, I don't want them to be defeated in Libya. I'm willing to abandon Libya if it means preserving the Africa Corps and this Mech Corps and sending them off to Italy. That's the idea. So yeah, pretty bad situation right now, but it's still kind of too early to tell. Now on the Western Front, our production is much better. I think it's at 22, right? So with 22, we can build up quite a bit. I think we're going to go ahead and simply build up OKW. And then with 12 left, we're going to basically build up our infantry at full strength. We got 1 more infantry build. I think what I want to build up this Panzer Corps, but I think we just don't have the resources for it right now. Just focus on building up infantry, making sure infantry are at full strength. Don't know where the British are going to attack, but let's make sure that this unit's built up. And then let's see about reinforcements. I think the Germans do get some reinforcements right now. It's right now technically May 1941, so we get this new fortress unit. I think we're going to put it in Norway. And the idea is to move it to Bergen. And just fortify, create a fortress Norway, basically. In other news, we can potentially start attacking, launch a new campaign here against Murmansk. That's going to be an interesting strategy. Eastern Front production for the Germans is looking really good. It's going to be at 80, a solid 80 right now. I think the Finnish have already joined. Yeah, the Finnish have joined the Axis. So they have the extra production. So it's 80 production, and it's not even 1940, summer 1942. When it is summer 1942, we can boost it up to 90. So we have a lot of production to build. So let's focus on building up HQs. That's the main priority. HQs are kind of pricey. That's 30. That leaves us with 50 right now. I think this here, build up this mountain core. So that's going to put us at from 50 down to 45. So, basically 11 infantry steps. I'm going to go ahead and build up the 36th core. This costs 8 normally, but because it's contested area, contested area, it's going to be double, so it's 16. So that's the equivalent of 4 steps. So I'm doing a lot of math here, but I know you guys are very bright, so I know you guys will be able to keep up pretty well. But you don't have to get caught up in the calculations. I'm just speaking out loud. But with 11 steps, 11 infantry steps, now down to 7 steps I can build up, right? That's the equivalent. I have 28 production points, technically 29 left. 29 production points. So let's see what we can build up. Probably build up these Panzer Corps. I'm going to focus on infantry builds first. We didn't do the pursuit, by the way, at Kharkov. We could have, but I don't think the Germans were going to get any hits anyways. So with 28 production points, let's go ahead and focus on infantry builds. 1, 2, 3, 4, here we go, 5, and then I think the last one will be a Panzer Corps. It'd be nice to build up this mech unit. I guess we will. 5, 6, 7, like that. And so that means I actually have 3 production points left over. I guess I'll go ahead and build up this militia unit over here. Just not put it to waste. But we could, I think, historically, there's an interesting historian named Dupuy, and he made the argument, and I think other historians agreed, but he talks about it, and he says that probably the single greatest strategic blunder that the Wehrmacht, the Third Reich's army, Third Reich's military, that is, or specifically the Ostheer, which is the German army of the East, its single greatest blunder or strategic mistake that it did in the war was that it did not recruit the populations of Ukraine or Belarus or so on in volume to fight the Soviet Union, because there was a lot of Jews in these territories. Now, there were groups that did join the Nazis. This is true. But overall, it was like a 50, I don't know the exact statistics, but it was like a split. You had, basically pro-German Ukrainians who basically served the Third Reich. You also had pro-German Russians who served the Third Reich as well. They were POWs that joined the Third Reich, so they were recruited into the German Osttier. You had Russians who were fighting against other Russians in the Eastern Front. So you had that going on as well, but you also had a lot of resistance groups fighting on the Soviet side for the Soviets against the German occupation. And by 1943, 1944, part of the reason why the Soviets' single largest operation in the history books, Operation Bagration, one of the reasons why it succeeded was because the partisan operations, the Soviet partisan operations, were basically kicking ass in 1943, 1944. So it went both ways. But the point here is that the Osttier, if they simply set their Nazi ideology aside, which effectively was impossible, there was a very likely chance that they could have recruited a lot of Slavs into their army and effectively used them to fight, against the Soviet Union. Now, the main problem or the main challenge would have been a recruitment issue, right? Or not recruitment, but rather a armament issue. Where are you going to get the armament production to arm this population? But you had the manpower available, and presumably the German army could have expanded their reserves by another 2 to 3 million troops, at least another million, which is significant on the Eastern Front. And so, with these extra production points that we have left over in this game, it makes you wonder, like, what if we got 10, German militia units in the game? Like, what would that represent? Obviously, not the highest quality fighting troops, but they could be used for like defensive operations and occupation purposes, and maybe basically relieve other German units that could be used for future operations. So it's a very interesting concept to explore. I find it very fascinating. All right, so that's it for production. And now we're going to start the month of May. The month is going to be clear weather on the. The Soviets actually got a die roll. They got 3 more production points. Nice. So actually, I think the Soviets. We had 1 more production point left over, so that's 4 production points extra. We're going to build up this army and put it in Stalingrad, like so. Or maybe we should put it in over here. I'm thinking, I don't want the southern HQ left all by itself. I think building up that amphibious unit as soon as possible is the best move. So let's see. I guess I will reduce the strength of. No, I already did it. Unfortunately. No, let's try to build it up. This costs 6 though. That's the only problem. So I'll put it here, but I'm gonna have to reduce the strength of, say, this unit here. So Crimea, still looking a little vulnerable. I guess I'll reduce this unit up here. There you go. And you know what? I could have built up this Ukrainian HQ as well. I'm actually going to change that. I think this was at level 0. We're going to build up this Ukrainian HQ. Make sure it's at full strength. Yeah. So yeah, two Soviet HQs are completely out of action right now, but I think it's going to have to come to that. Alright, so now back to the Axis perspective. We'll roll for weather. It is mud, because it's an odd die roll. So what do the Germans want to do on this odd die roll for mud? Not much. Also questioned any diplomatic events I could have done. Like, I could have maybe tried to get Syria in the war. Maybe we go ahead and roll for that. I think the Axis are going to get it. Let's look at the diplomatic table. Diplomatic events table. But yeah, basically, Mid-East rebellion, Mid-East uprising. Balkans pacified, Bulgaria and Greece Axis controlled. Axis major ports in Libya and Egypt. They only have 1 right now. If it's less than or equal to count, so no, the die roll failed. Okay. So yeah, there's that for diplomatic events. Nothing I really want to do on the Eastern Front right now. I think next turn we're going to just build up the remaining Panzer Corps, and we're just going to go all out on the Soviets. Our Panzer Corps are going to be at full strength, which is going to be pretty badass. And actually, the next fortnight we may have clear weather, and if we do, we'll be able to actually start the offensive operations a little sooner. So that's the game plan. So nothing on the Eastern Front that I want to do. Now for the this front over here, the Mediterranean Front, presumably the British are going to start attacking us. And it's like, I wish these units were at full strength. I wish this HQ was at level 1 at least, so that we could potentially launch some kind of counterattack, but it's at level 0, unfortunately. Maybe I could have transferred production over to the Mediterranean Front, prioritized Mediterranean Front production. I didn't do that. So that was not the wisest move. I think all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and activate OKW. I'm going to go ahead and pull back this Africa Corps right there. I'm going to put it there. And I think I'm also going to move this guy here as well. So that's 4 strategic moves. The Desert Africa Corps will stay put. So whatever the British try to attack with, I mean, we're going to have the defensive advantage. We're still going to have triple fire, I believe. So it's, we still can inflict some significant casualties on them. But the point is, the British are only able to send 1 unit across. We have this kind of defensive advantage here because of these marsh, swamp terrain, presumably in North Africa. That's going to be 4 strategic moves, and then the last 2, go ahead and move these 2 units to 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like so. And that's it. That is all we're going to do for the axis on this turn. We'll switch over to the British. And I think what we'll do with the British, go ahead and activate this HQ here. And we're going to move these units. We can do 4 strategic moves. Actually, maybe we don't. I think we'll go ahead and activate this theater HQ, move the 10th Army into El Algelia. Or actually, maybe what we do, yeah, no, let's go ahead and start moving some units around. 4 strategic moves is quite a bit. It's more than what we need. But maybe we do 2 strategic moves in the Mediterranean front and then 1 on the Western front. I'm going to go ahead and move this unit to the 13th on the flank. I think that's the key move for the British. This unit will attack. Alright, you know what? Yeah, no, we're going to do a lot of moves. We're going to move this HQ to Benghazi. That's 1, 2, 3. And then I think that's actually it. That's all we need to do. And then 4, I guess, like so. Oh, okay, no. Hold on, I'm just trying to figure out where to place these units. Let's move this 10th Army here. This group there, this group here, and then this Anzac group will attack. How the Australians attack. And see how they do. But the idea is we're just like encroaching on the Axis position. I don't expect the Australian units to succeed. Actually, you know what? We're not going to attack. That's kind of dumb. There's no point. We're just going to put pressure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're just going to put strategic pressure on the Axis. Now, next turn, presumably, we can send 3 units into El Algelia. And that's going to be much better than just sending in 1. So that's the game plan that we got. Yeah, that's the game plan. All right, so very nice. Good, cool strategic move, operational move for the British there. Switch over to the Soviets. I think the Soviets are going to pass. You know, there's nothing really that I want to do for the Soviets at the moment. Now, I could try to pull back Soviet units, but I'm going to save the Stavka for clear weather. That's the key. You want to save the Stavka for clear weather, see whatever the Germans do. You know, right now, we don't have much of a strategic reserve. We do have a limited reserve, but the main idea is that, you know, all the frontline areas are well fortified as best as possible. So we'll move on to the next fortnight. Roll for weather. It's also mud, so it's got some breathing room. So it's got some very nice breathing room. So let's see. Do the Germans want to strategically move these 2 units forward? I mean, it's not a bad idea. Move up some infantry. It's a bit of an army. It's not a whole army, but it's an army. Oh, activate OKH. Move the 3rd Romanian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9. 8. Okay, that's 2 strategic moves. And then go ahead and move up these guys. Let's see how many German infantry do we have here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the equivalent of 2 German armies, infantry armies over here. So I'm thinking maybe they just basically stay put. They basically fortify these positions here. And then the Panzer Corps, we'll see. We'll see what we do. Or attack. You know, we could attack, but I think these 2 additional these two additional German infantry, I think we'll move them up to the central part of the front. And I think we're going to launch some kind of concentrated operation against Kharkov, or maybe try to flank Kharkov. Yeah, let's go ahead and move these guys forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 4 strategic moves. And basically, yeah, build up a 6. Let's move them up to the front like that. 7, 8. There we go. That looks nice. And then we have this one reserve, 44th, that we could move up. I think eventually we are going to move it up. But for now, we're doing pretty well as far as reserves go. Keep in mind the German HQ was disrupted, so it only had 4 strategic moves. There's nothing we can do on the Eastern Front or Western Front. Yeah, there's nothing we can do. Or excuse me, the Mediterranean Front right now. The British presumably can attack on the next turn. So we may have to be retreating. So it's not a great situation right now for the Axis. I feel like I need to... Man, is this HQ built up? Please tell me it is. It's at level 0. So, like, I only have... Oh, man. Yeah, the British definitely flanked us there. I think we need to consider retreating. I mean, if the British decide to attack all the way around, they're going to pin down the Desert Africa Corps and it may be game over. So I think I have no choice but to activate OKW here. Only 4 supreme moves, meaning I can move 2 units. I think we're going to go ahead and put 1 unit there. Now the British are going to chase us down big time. And then I'm going to move the Africa Corps to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that's it. Two strategic moves. Or you know what we can do? Oh, I got it. That's 1 strategic move. Dang it, 1, 2. Dang it. I was trying to move a Italian militia unit to El Algalia, but again, it's not fast enough. The British can still flank us and prevent us from escaping. I think I have no choice but to move this guy here. And I think next turn, focus on building up the Africa Corps. Oh, we had 11 production points, didn't we? Dang it, we had 11 more. Oh, man. Oh, that changes everything. I forgot. I guess I'm going to just have to save it for the next turn. There's nothing I can really do. I forgot. So yeah, we'll leave it that. It's still kind of an interesting scenario. Perhaps, I don't know, the Italians, some kind of incompetence or something. Who knows? But that's going to be it for this turn. Now we're in the month of June. I think I'll go ahead and do the production, and then I think I'm going to wrap up the video here, and then we'll continue. It's a very interesting strategic position, but switch over to the British side, and then we'll see what the game plan is. I think for the British, we could pursue the Axis, and I think we should. I think there's an incentive here to pursue as much as we can the Axis. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this HQ again. We have 3 supreme moves altogether in the Mediterranean front. So what I will do is maybe go like 1, 2, 3. I think that's the game plan. So we're going to pin down the Axis. But obviously, we're kind of overextending our supply lines right now. We're definitely overextending our supply lines. Actually, we're going to cancel that. I'm actually not going to do it because our main HQ is at level 0. If it was at level 1 or level 2, we would pursue. But we're not going to pursue. So let's go ahead and do British production. I think the British gained 10 more production points. So we're going to increase this production now from 17 to 22. And then the Mediterranean front will go up to 30. So yeah, British have gained more production points. So we saved 17 on the last turn on the Western Front. 17 plus 22 puts us at 39 production points. And so we'll go ahead and build up, spend 20 to build up this British, build up this British HQ. Do we get any reinforcements? Let's check. British reinforcements. I don't think anything yet. Not until October of 1942. We have 19 production points left. Let's go ahead and build up 2 British, two infantry. And then this HQ here, I guess we'll build that up right there. Yeah. Now we'll switch over to Soviet production. I think the Soviets actually gained 6 production points right now. So it's from 53 now up to 59, which is really nice. Bit of a production boost there. So let's verify that. Soviets, summer 42, yeah, they gained 6. So their production is at 60. I'm going to look at the historical setup. Just want to see what the Soviets had historically. Was it the same? It should be about the same, right? 1942 scenario. I actually don't have to look at East Front. I can look at Eurofront to see. Summer 42 Soviet production, I think it's at 62. That's what this is telling me. If we look at Eurofront, assault on France, 40, 41, 42. What's the Soviet production? It says here the Soviet production is at 66, I believe. So yeah, I guess what's the strategic difference between this scenario and the scenario that we have here? You know, what production are the Soviets? Where is the Soviets gaining 60? No, I think they had control of Rostov, didn't they? Yeah. So actually, it's 60 that they had historically. But according to East Front, it says it would be at 56. Oh, it would be 56, and I guess that would exclude 3 production points from somewhere. I'm just not sure where. It's always interesting to kind of figure these things out. I mean, the Soviet production should be relatively constant. Obviously, in Eurofront, it's a total of 84 production points, while I think in East Front, it's 64. So I'm curious to know, why does it say 56 here? And then why does it say 60 in the other one, in East Front, or Eurofront rather? I'm assuming there's a 4 production point difference, not 3. If we look at the map, it has something to do with the map. There's some part of the map that's not being included in the Soviets, but I think right now the Soviets have like everything. Like, what could it be? If we look at the 1941 scenario, that kind of helps sort of for comparison. I gotta look at the summer 41. The production is 64. If we look at East Front, Eurofront scenario, it's 68. So again, it's a 4 production point difference. Interesting. Very interesting. What would be the 4 production point difference? I wonder. Now I know there's a slight difference as far as units are concerned. I think in the East Front, you don't have these Soviet mountain corps, or mountain armies rather. You don't have these 3 units. So I think that might be the only difference. But as far as the actual territory goes, I think the territory is the same. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. $68 it says versus 64. It's It's a really good question to find out. Presumably those 4 production points are coming from somewhere. And I guess presumably those 4 production points would have been spent every month on these 3 Soviet reserves, these 3 Soviet units. Seems kind of odd to me. Oh, also in the Eastern Front, you don't have the Arctic zone, so it could be that as well. In Eurofront, you do, so that might be the difference. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. All right. So, anyways, Soviets have 59 production points. Let's go ahead and build. First thing I'm going to spend it on is we decided to not activate Stavka, the 6th Army. Well, we still have the Soviet turn, so it'd be a wise time to consider maybe pulling back. I mean, this unit costs 6 production points, so I'm thinking maybe we do pull back. I mean, the Germans have clearly transferred some reinforcements, so they're clearly launching some kind of offensive operation. Let's go ahead and spend Stavka. Pull back the 6th Army, move it to Kursk, and then, let's see, I think what I want to do is maybe pull back to 31st. Oh, man, it's hard. It's just a tough strategic position. We still have control of Orel, so that obviously is a nice strategic position to hold on to. But here in the center, we obviously need like at least one more Soviet unit here to support the 31st. Ideally, some kind of support unit. I think I'm going to transfer this Panzer Corps, this armored corps, there. I think it's what would be the. But then of course we're weakening our defense here of Moscow, so it's kind of a gamble. We don't really have that many reserves again. It's a serious problem. I think what I'm going to do is transfer this cavalry unit and move it there. So that's 2 strategic moves. That's a pretty good setup. I think maybe what else can we do? I think we're going to swap out one of these infantry armies here with a cavalry. The idea being that we are able to have a mobile retreat from Kursk if necessary. Or maybe not. I think these infantry, the idea is these infantry can hold out on their own pretty well. But the retreat, if we do need to retreat, it's going to be a messy retreat. We don't have any mech. That's really what I'm looking for, is having some kind of mech. We do have this one reserve here. This 28th. I'm thinking about maybe putting this 28th into Orel. Like so. So it's 1, 2, 3. Ooh, let's do 4, 5. So we got one more move, 4, 5. I think maybe move this Ukrainian HQ to Voronezh. And it's going to have to command this entire region. But the idea is we're prepared for the summer. Oh, and then maybe this Western HQ. Well, actually, this Western HQ is unfortunately locking down Moscow. So I say, let's see, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only got one more strategic move left. Maybe what we do is actually transfer this Baltic HQ and move it to Voronezh. So we'll have 2 HQs in the region. Might be the best move there. And then we only have 1 HQ defending Moscow, but it is the Western HQ. It's level 3, and we also have Stavka, of course. But we don't have, I think that might be the best move. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like so. Not bad. So our production is at 59. Let's do that. Focus on HQ builds. 1, 2, 3. Ideally build this one up here 4. That leaves me with only 19 production point left. Build up the armored units. I only have 9 production points left now. And that's it. Unfortunately, the Soviet army, although it's strong, we still were not able to build up any reserves. Couldn't build up any of these mech reserves, which is a total bummer. But I think the idea is to have our frontline units at full strength, have a strategic reserve as far as tank army is concerned. And then have these HQs, have the ability to strategically flank the Germans. So yeah, I think it's a pretty decent setup right now. This unit here is definitely vulnerable, but unfortunately, this is, I think, as good as it's gonna get. But the Germans, I mean, the Soviets have a very interesting setup. I don't think they're gonna be able to hold out against a German offensive, but they may be able to buy themselves a little bit of time, and that's what the Soviets need. We're gonna have to trade space for time if the Germans do succeed at achieving any kind of breakthrough. So I think we'll now do Axis production. Axis production, we're going to transfer the Axis gain 5 production points. That's going to be transferred to the Mediterranean front. And then we're going to transfer 10 production points to the Eastern front for 90. Sweet, just a nice 90 production point for the Axis. And the idea is to go full out on the Eastern front, basically try to have another large-scale Operation Barbarossa, maybe call it a Barbarossa Part 2. If not called Barbarossa Part 2, we'll have smaller scale operations, but the idea is to have operations that are at least on the scale of Case Blue. So I'm not going to call it Case Blue, I think we'll call it like maybe Operation Thunder or something like this, and the idea is to push against the Soviets and cripple them and inflict casualties and achieve Schwerpunkt and Bewegungskrieg. So we have 90 production points. Let's build up OKH. Now we're down to 80. So we can build up 10 Panzer Corps right now. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 24 production points left over. Here's another 10. Now we're down to 14. Now we're down to, we have 10 production points left. Pretty much all the German units are at full strength, except the ones in contested territory. We've got 10 left. I could build up this fortress, this 81st fortress unit. I just don't know if I want to have a strategic posture against Moscow or try to attack Moscow. I think we probably should build it up, but I may redeploy it somewhere else. So if I do build it up now and I end up redeploying it, it may be under strength. But like Vyazma is obviously like the kind of cornerstone defense here in the center. So if it's at level 3, we can leave it all by itself. We can leave it all by itself, and it might be able to hold out pretty well against Soviet counteroffensives. And I think that maybe we don't go for Moscow directly, but we may try to flank or something. So that's my game plan. All the German units are at full strength. The Finnish probably could use more reinforcements themselves. And I think I may want to attack with a finish. And try to put some more strategic pressure over here. So, if that's my game plan, then I do want the finish to be built up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cancel one of the builds for the Panzer Corps. I guess cancel this 46th Panzer Corps build. Or do we cancel Southern Panzer Corps build? Cancel the Southern one. And then we'll go ahead and build up the finish. Nice. And yeah, we're going to start attacking. Now the Finnish don't really have... We would need like a whole Finnish army to go for Soroka. But like the idea is we, it's, unfortunately it's not going to have any combat support, but we will be able to do a lot of damage. On the Western Front, we only have 12 production points right now, so it's pretty under strength. I think we do get German reinforcements. Nice. More militia units. Oh, we also get this militia group that can be deployed into North Africa. I guess we will. But with 12 production points, I think the wisest thing to do is probably just to save production. I would like to build up a Panzer Corps and so forth, but I think the most important thing to build up right now is OKW. And I don't want to waste any production, so... You know what? I think I have no choice but to build up OKW. And then the Mediterranean front production is at 30, so we'll roll 3. I don't think we did British production, so we have to go back to that. That's 12. 12 plus 9 is 21. Oh, plus what we have over here, we saved. 21 plus 11 is 32. We got a lot of production. Let's build up this Africa Corps, for sure. That's 20. Now we're down to, from 32 down to 12. Build up the Africa Corps one more. And then build up this militia unit here. I think that's what we're going to do. Not bad. I'm thinking maybe there's another thing that we could try to build up. Oh wait, I don't know why I built that up. From 32, yeah, that's all we could build. So the Desert Africa Corps is at full strength, but unfortunately it's being dedicated for defensive operations, so it's not the ideal scenario. All the other units that we have are like at level 0, basically. We only got one corps at full strength, so the Axis defense is looking pretty bad, if you ask me. So we probably should just retreat right now while we still have the time. I'm thinking maybe we don't build up this Africa Corps. It's so expensive. And that leaves us with 20 production points. Build up this militia unit here. That's 9. That leaves us with 11. And then start building up more infantry. That's 4. Build up this HQ. That's 5. So we have 2 production points left over right now. Hold on, did I do my math right here? We did 12, 21. We have 11 left. That's 26. We have 6 left. Yeah, and then build up this. And then we're going to have to toss out the last 2. But I think I'm going to focus on building up. I'm going to pull back this Africa Corps all the way to Libya, decided. We can only pull back 4 units. 2 units, rather. No, with this HQ, we can pull it back 3. That's good. Okay. So, yeah. But I think it's fair to say that we're in a retreating scenario right now. If we go to the British, I don't think I did the British Mediterranean front production. They get to roll also some dice. 10 plus, oh, they get 19. We'll build up this and build up this. Just like that, piece of cake. All right. And I think with that, we're going to be ready to attack. So, question is do we stop the video here or do we continue the series? I think, let's see how I'm doing on time. But I think I'm going to stop the video here. It's already been a relatively long video. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed making it. Hour and a half. Yeah, I think it's a good time to stop. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you like my wild, Einsteinian hair or whatever it is. Hope you have a great day. Do take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next video.